Hey, what's up YouTube? Down the smartphone guy coming back at you with another video, and tonight I'm ready to share with you my full review of this device right here. This is the LG Stylo 3 Plus, and I've been using this device for roughly around 3 weeks, and of that about 2 weeks as my daily driver. So let's go ahead and talk about the price. So that's the first area that's going to be important. So I picked it up on T-Mobile for $225. So you can see here I have the T-Mobile version. It is also available on T-Mobile for $9 as monthly payments. You'd pay that for 24 months. Or on Metro PCS, it's available for $180. So there are some other versions of the Stylo 3, and it's going to be, instead of the Plus, you're just going to have the Stylo 3, but it does have a few lower specifications, so worth mentioning there. So let's go ahead and talk about the specs on the phone. So first of all, we have a 5.7-inch Full HD display, so that's 1080p. We have a 13 megapixel camera on the back, there it is, and a 5 megapixel camera up front, right up here. And then we have 32 gigs of onboard storage. Of that 32 gigs, roughly around 22 are available for your use out of the box, but there is a micro SD card expansion slot there. And then we have fast charging capabilities. So those are just some of the specs that they mention. And that is, by the way, Qualcomm 2.0 fast charging. And in the box, basically the only thing you get with the phone is the charging brick along with the micro USB. So that is going to be something that I think is kind of a little bit of a negative. So the phone, instead of having Type C, it has the older micro USB option there. So we do have a headphone jack, so that's a nice feature. Thank you, thumbs up for LG for that one. We have a microphone on the bottom, microphone up top. Of course, we have our stylus. We'll pop that out a little bit later. We've already talked about the camera. There's our fingerprint sensor, and also the power button. And then we have our flash here. On this side, we have our nothing. We have our volume rocker over here, and we've already talked about that. So one thing I like about this phone is the fact that, there's our speaker, by the way. I can pull the back off of it, so that's nice. And so it's definitely kind of a cheaper back, obviously. So it's plastic. But it exposes a number of things. So, of course, we've already talked about the speaker. We have our 30,000, not 30,000. I've said that multiple times, but it's a 3,050 milliamp hour battery. So, of course, you can remove it, swap it out for a new one. We have our SIM tray here, and above that is the micro SD card slot. And, of course, you can see I don't have one in there at the moment. We have our NFC chip. So, I will say that that's a very nice feature for a phone that only costs around $200. It's pretty rare to get an NFC chip in a phone at that price point, so it's nice that LG included it with this phone. So in terms of build quality, obviously it is no HTC U11, it is no Samsung Galaxy S8, but build quality wise, it is nice that it's thin. It's a relatively large phone, so one-handed usability. You know, you can see I have to do a little bit of hand gymnastics to reach across it, but overall, I think the build quality, yeah, we'll give it a 4 out of 5. Certainly not the most beautiful phone by any means, but I don't think that's what they're trying for here. They're giving more for a utilitarian effect here. So it is a nice utility phone for a nice budget-friendly price. So let's go ahead and talk next about the performance. So in terms of performance, this is running the Snapdragon 435 processor that's clocked at 1.4 gigahertz. And you can see here, I'll jump in here to the Geekbench score. So it's not going to score super high in the Geekbench score. And I will say that that is somewhat noticeable when you're using it in day-to-day. It's not going to be certainly the fastest device you will ever use. You know, unless, of course, you're used to budget phones. Let's see if okay. Well, I've definitely run benchmarks on it before, and it scores just below 2,000 on Geekbench. And what I will say is that the area that you're going to notice that the most is if you're running a lot of apps in the background, especially if a lot of them are social media. So like Twitter, for instance, is a pretty heavy app. Facebook Messenger is a pretty heavy app. Those social media apps, if you're running a lot of them in the background and trying to do a lot of multitasking with the phone, you will definitely run into situations where it will start to bog down. Now, in terms of gaming, I've really had no issues at all with any of the games I've played on it. None of the games I play are particularly heavy games, but for the most part, all the games have run pretty smoothly on it. So it does only have 2 gigs of RAM, so that's probably one of the reasons why you start to see that slowdown as you jump from app to app. But as you are, especially in social media is the area that I found once in a while you see lag. And so, you can see Twitter there. It took a little while to load. And, but overall, scrolling, not bad. So in general use, sure, if I'm comparing it to the HTC U11, yeah, it feels a little bit slow. But as a standalone device, I think for the most part, I think you'll be pretty happy, especially at this budget-friendly price. So performance-wise, I'd give it another 4 out of 5. Certainly, it fits the price. Next thing I want to talk about is the software. So this, of course, has LG software, and I will be the first to say that I'm not a huge fan of LG software. So let's go ahead and jump into the settings. And we can see here that this is not actually how it looks out of the box. So we'll go ahead and look at that. So this is the tab view, which is the way it's going to look when you get it out of the box. So the first tab isn't for networks. The second tab is for sounds and notifications. Nothing really worth mentioning here under this section, at least that I can think of. Under the display, we do have some options that I think were worth mentioning. So the first one is the home screen. And up here, if you want to change it to out of the box, it's going to come with this one, which is home, which you notice doesn't have a app drawer. Ooh, lots of apps there. So this is going to be more like iOS here, this version. But of course, we are Android users, so we like our app drawer. So if you want that, come down here and jump into home and app drawer. So that's where you're going to get that. Or if you're like me, I don't really like LG skin, so I use Nova Launcher. So for me, this is just the best way to go. I definitely prefer Nova Launcher. And in case you're wondering, this is an icon pack called, where's it at? MIUI Carbon. People ask me that all the time, so I figured I might as well just tell you. All right, so this is MIUI Carbon running on Nova Launcher, and that's just the way I prefer to use the device. But let's go ahead and jump back into the settings. So it should still be in that tab view. Oh, no. So in Nova Launcher, I use the list view, so that's why it's jumping there. So tab view, list view, that's how you change that. So some other things worth mentioning in the software, if we come down here to About Phone, it is running Android 7.0 out of the box. So let's jump in here. So Android 7.0, still running the April security patch, so I haven't got too many updates on this device yet, or at least any that I can think of. And so we'll jump out of that. Some other things worth mentioning, we have the shortcut keys. We can change those. So there's a couple things that we can change in there. So we can take a selfie using the camera, take a selfie in the camera using our fingerprint on the power key, and we can take a screenshot as well. Some things also worth mentioning here are, where's it at? Oh, there it is, the pen. This is very important. Okay, so the pen, this is the app that's going to use called Pen Pop, so you can also change that to Pop Memo, or you can do nothing when you pull the pen out. I don't know why you'd want that, but you can do that. I guess that maybe if you lose the pen, that might be a reason to have that. But Pen Pop here is nice because it's fully customizable. You can change it to whatever apps you want to pop up whenever you pull the pen out. So we'll have to wait for it to load a little bit. So just for fun, I changed it to Amazon Alexa. You're probably not going to want that one, but let's say I want, well, Quick Memo is definitely one you want, I think. But you can change it to whatever you want. I think you're allowed, 5 items. So let's say I don't want Pop Lens, and I want, for some reason, I want Best Buy's app to pop up whenever I pull that out. So I can go up here, pop out my pen, and there's Best Buy, just in case you want that one. So Pen Pop is a very nice feature, and as you can see, there are a lot of options here, and I do really like the one I used most often would be Pop Memo, so that's obviously just for writing a memo. Capture Plus is going to be for capturing a screen capture. There are other options for doing that as well. GIF Capture, of course, is going to be for GIFs, and then Quick Memo Plus. So all very cool features. within the software. So while I don't like LG's software personally, I'm not a huge fan of it. I will say that the added features with the pen are very nice on the Stylo 3 Plus. So that's the software. Next thing I want to talk about is the battery. So I already talked about the fact that it's removable. It's a 3050 milliamp hour battery. For me, battery life is okay to good. Definitely not great. So I'm getting roughly around 4 hours of screen on time. And for me personally, I found that typically at the end of a day, I would be getting close to really 0 to 10%. So that's in a full day of usage, roughly around 4 to 5 hours of screen on time, most of the time closer to 4 hours of screen on time. So that was always cutting it pretty close for me at the end of a day. So in terms of battery life, it's good, but it's definitely not great. It's nowhere near what you're going to get out of something like, I know I keep mentioning this phone, but HTC U11, I'm getting closer to like 6 hours of screen on time, but obviously that's a much more expensive device. But I will say that a more budget-friendly device that is also available on T-Mobile, the LG K20 Plus, got better battery life for me. That was just in my experience. This one always got 5 to 6 hours of screen on time, whereas this one, I could pretty regularly only get 4, sometimes 5, and on a really good day, 6. 6 was kind of that was really uncommon. Last thing I want to talk about is the cameras. So camera quality wise, in good lighting, you're going to get some good pictures out of this camera. In not so good lighting, we're talking about the rear camera right now, that 13 megapixel camera, definitely not the best camera. And this was for a video that I did, but this is kind of a lower light picture. This is using the front facing camera, and I'll show some pictures at the end of this video as well. So that's another relatively lower light picture there, my daughter. And one thing I will mention that in terms of the camera is the shutter speed is not super fast. So notice that the camera takes a while to load, and then shutter speed wise, see how slow that was? This is good lighting. So that was one thing that I found kind of frustrating when I was trying to use it, is the shutter speed. So let's do that one more time. Okay, that one was a lot faster. Let's try it again. Okay, that one was faster too. So maybe it's just when you first open it that the shutter speed is really slow. But overall, in good lighting, this does take very good pictures. In low light, it's going to suffer, and the front-facing camera definitely suffers very heavily in low light. In good lighting, it's decent. And it'll suffice, but in low light, it's definitely going to suffer. So it does shoot, I should mention, in 1080p for the video. So if you want to shoot videos with this, you will get up to 1080p on the rear camera. So that's nice. Again, it's decent. Not an amazing camera. It's certainly not going to blow you away. But again, I'll show some of those pictures or those videos at the end of this. So overall, is this a device worth picking up? Definitely. I would say for the $225 price point, or somewhere around $200, you know, whether you're on Metro PCS or T-Mobile, it's right around $200. I will say, yes, this is definitely a phone worth picking up, but is certainly not a fantastic phone that's going to blow you away. If you want a phone this is just for me personally, obviously they're different phones, different devices, but for me at that price point, the Moto G5 Plus, the Honor 6X are both phones that I felt, for me, I just prefer those two devices because their performance is better, their cameras are better. Obviously, you don't get the utility in those devices of a pen, smaller screen size with those two devices as well. But if you want the features that this has to offer, if you want to be able to only pay $9 a month for your phone, obviously you can't do that with the Moto G5 Plus or the Honor 6X. Those are unlocked phones. And yeah, so just kind of my thoughts on the T-Mobile LG Stylo 3 Plus. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments down in the comments section. Like I mentioned, there are going to be some pictures after this, so stick around for those. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Peace.